Hey guys, and thank you for joining us today for another Cyber Talk with me, Julia Lee, Senior Manager of the Education and Center of Excellence Unit here within the Cybersecurity Division of the Ontario Public Service. The theme for our episode today is the defensive power of diversity in cyber. And living in Canada, we are so privileged to be one of the most multicultural countries, really, in the world. And specifically in Toronto, not just because we are recording this from Toronto, it's known for being the most multicultural city in the world, with over 50% of the population not born in Canada. And really, being a diverse company means employing people with various characteristics such as race, gender, age to religion, abilities, and much more than that. I personally am very passionate about this topic. It sometimes feels rare being an Asian woman in the cybersecurity field, but I've seen so much progress in this industry and all the good that diversity really brings into cybersecurity. Which is why I am so excited to talk about diversity today within cybersecurity with a very special guest. Our guest today is someone we all know and is a very familiar face to cybersecurity and security in general. That is Ali. He is the director of the Information Security Office at Ontario Health. With a career spanning over 24 years of experience ranging from information security to technologies, computer forensics, and privacy domains in both public and private sectors. At Ontario Health, Ali has been leading numerous strategic cybersecurity and privacy initiatives that really contribute to the implementation and improvement of today's architecture and defense posture of the healthcare sector across our province. It's always nice to connect with you, Ali, and work closely with you on that side, and really get a sneak peek of your leadership skills for developing and enhancing some of our cybersecurity capabilities. But needless to say, overall, Ali has managed many teams throughout his career and has firsthand experience of what diversity can do to create a well-rounded team, which is why we have brought him on to talk about his experiences in making a lasting impact on diversity in cyber. So please join me in welcoming Ali. Ali, to you, if you'd like to do a bit of an intro.
Thank you, Julius, for your kind words and introduction. I'm delighted to be here, and thanks for inviting me. And as you mentioned, I've been around for a while, and it's always great to share knowledge and experiences with each other and with across the board because I'm a big believer in sharing knowledge and sharing experiences. The reason that we are here is because of what we learned from the previous ones, and now we are carrying it over and moving it and passing it forward to the next generations. And hopefully, we can make this a stronger field for everyone that is interested to join us and help us to defend the world in cyber war that we are facing on daily basis. So thanks for inviting me, and I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah, the cyber war that we are facing on a daily basis, and which is also why we gravitate towards this career here, I think, right? In terms of tackling these issues and finding solutions to them. But before we get into depth about diversity today, I wanted to set the stage with this first question around the importance of diversity. Ali, in your personal experience, how have you seen diversity provide value? And why does diversity matter in a workplace?
In general, not just cyber, basically, diversity has been always the key in successful or success in general for all the organizations and any type of operations. Statistics actually Forbes is interesting that I was reading this a while ago that 87% better decisions are made by diverse teams rather than just the teams that are very solos driven type of mentality and approaches, that they are very focused on a specific mindsets and how they want to operate. So in general, diversity is a key to success of any organization. It brings more innovation, collaboration gets stronger, and it allows people to feel more inclusive when they are in a part of the team and they can bring and raise their opinions. The old basic saying says that every head has or brain has a different mindset, and we need to share such knowledge and mindsets together. And that comes from diversity. You mentioned that we are all coming from different backgrounds, we are all coming from different life experiences, and we think differently. There is no way that we can basically push people to think in a certain ways. So that the diversity, especially when it comes between the different genders, or if we are talking about that adds to the game because again, the psychology has proven and psychiatrists proven that women might think differently than even men in a matrix model versus a linear type of things based on my readings. So all of in general, diversity is bringing such make it more powerful and make it more by diverse or by broader by, sharing knowledge area and by passing through the hoops and loops that might not one mindset or one type of mentality can go through them. So, in general, yes, collaboration, innovation, and making better decisions are the key factors of the diverse teams in general.
Exactly. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think diversity, it's really key to the success to any type of operations, like I said, because it allows innovation, collaboration, and it allows people to feel more included in a team, right? It is a team
Yeah,
sport when it comes to cybersecurity, and everyone's different perspectives and skill sets and diverse backgrounds all play a part in the decisions. And I think it's really interesting. They say 87% of decisions are made by diverse teams, which goes to proves that, diversity is key.
exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So I've done a bit of research and looked up some statistics of actually diversity in the workplace, and the results are quite interesting. And those of you who are tuning in today, please feel free to add in your comments and how you feel about these stats. So I'll just share those with you, Ali. 43% of companies that have diverse management report higher profits. So those are within the private sector. 73% of companies with gender equality practices have higher profits and productivity levels. And last stat here that I found quite interesting is 76% of workers value diversity in the workplace. And that was one of the recent kind of Deloitte stats that was pulled here. But these stats really show how much people value diversity in a workplace and how it can really lead to not just higher profits, but productivity. And I think just performance overall, happiness with the role that you play within your organization or company. But now that we have seen the importance of diversity in the workplace, let's zoom in a little bit more and talk about diversity in cyber. Last week, Ali and I we attended the Canadian Women in Cybersecurity Conference, hosted by siberX, of course. And this is an annual conference that really promotes diversity in cyber and brings together people with different thoughts, backgrounds, experiences, and really the ability to the table to discuss the opportunities that and the ways that we can diversify cyber. So both Ontario Health and the Center of Excellence were sponsors for this event here, and it was really nice to meet you and the team in person there, Ali.
Thank you.
During the conference, there was a public sector specific track where the Center of Excellence was able to run various workshops from incident management preparedness and response to the evolving role of a CISO. And in addition, the COE, we did have a booth where we had lots of attraction from attendees and career talks from students to senior leaders to share their thoughts and ideas entering the cyber industry. So, needless to say, there's definitely lots of movement. There's definitely a lot of momentum and interest sparked within this sector in general. But I think and to your point, the conference, I thought it was amazing, where attendees were able to connect, to have their voices heard, and really learn about the importance of diversity. Um, Talking about some things you learned at the conference and based on your own experiences, Ali, how can we encourage more women to pursue careers in cybersecurity, ensuring that really women in cybersecurity are given those equal opportunities for career advancement?
To be honest, I think this needs to get started way in advance and at a younger age for women, and bringing of them up to speed in general with the technology concepts, and because there is a stereotype that what always the technology belongs to a certain gender and they are better at it and those type of things. And these stereotypes always have caused issues and problems that in general, and we need to remove this. And by doing by from that perspective, we need to start by educating actually and bringing like social media even plays a major role in this game. If you look at all of these social media and the materials going to the media, We always look at the hackers, a guy with a hoodie sitting and trying to either hack or defend or be on the pen test side and those type of things. These are the misinformation that we are passing to the society, saying that you know what, this is a very gender unified based type of activity that can be done, which is completely incorrect. And in order to do this, we need to, again, as I mentioned, we start education earlier. And in order to do that, we need to educate actually the educators because they need to understand first so they can pass the knowledge and the trainings to the people or the students in advance and provide them some hands-on type of, maybe workshops or like what siberX did last week that brought in some as a career fairs for and exposed to the concept and remove those stereotypes, saying that it's not just a male-driven type of domain, and many, 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 many successful basically talents in this domain are female that are actually leading the domain and they have such a great track record within the either private sector or public sector. So again, education I think is the key, and how we are going to deliver this message, and removing all of those stereotypes and again mentalities that no, this is just one-sided or one type of player game that only they can play. So that's I believe a strong belief that we need to start this at early age and to start way in advance, all the way from the even elementary school.
Exactly. Totally agree with your points. Start young. And for folks who are maybe even pivoting or considering to transition to a career in cybersecurity, start now, right? I think that's the overall message, right? It starts with really educating young people from kind of even the K to 12 programs, right? How do we kind of start, shaping and implementing this or at least having those discussions between counselors and teachers within the K to 12 sectors. But I completely agree with you in terms of one way to do this and start sharing more greater awareness around cybersecurity, and really debunking some of the stereotypes that technology really just belongs to males. That needs to be removed. And a good way to a channel to do that is through social media. Um, Sally, as a woman in cybersecurity, I've seen the progress that has been made throughout the years to allow for really inclusivity and the effort that people have put into it to create a safe and equal space for women. There's still a lot to be done. Don't get me wrong, but I do believe that we are moving in the right direction in terms of gender equality. And I really liked your points just around, starting young, starting educating, our youth, making sure that, they learn about cybersecurity. Jason Prasad and I, we had the opportunity this week to connect in with colleges across our province, and he shares a sneak peek of his personal life with his kids, where they knew what firewall was. I think it was his 10-year-old and 12-year-old. They knew exactly how to change passwords automatically without anyone telling them. So it's good that they have that type of awareness and they understand the importance of cybersecurity. But now that we've seen the importance of gender equality, the cyber perspective, let's turn the page and look at it in terms of the technical components. Diversity, it's really not limited that we know to gender, race, or appearances. But when we talk about diversity, we also want to think about the different skills and backgrounds. So, how is technical diversity really an asset to a security team, especially if the in house tech stack is predefined, it's limited? Do you look for staff members with diverse technical stacks or do you standardize them?
Absolutely. In general, the technology we have inherited from many, many, many years ago, since computer and the mainframes were developed and they got basically came to our lives. It doesn't mean that everyone is right now dealing with the latest technologies or latest appliances and everything that we have in the domain. And that's a challenge because legacy environments that we have and we have inherited again all the way from financial sector, if you look at it, all the way to the healthcare sector, any sector that we are dealing with, we have built up on top of basically the older or newer, doesn't matter, technology stacks. in order to basically be able to maintain or come up with a new or convert them to the newer technology, we do need a diversity in the technology concept. We cannot have everyone to be just, let's say, Windows operating system type of expert, while we have many Linux and Unix based type of still servers that are and still are in operation. So the diversity in that in tech stack is a key, actually. If we don't have that, the reality is that when it comes to the cyber side and cyber security, lack of knowledge is going to be the biggest challenge we are going to face. And in order, always I say that if you want to defend in the best way, you need to have a good knowledge of technology stack and what you have and what you do, and how those technologies are coupling with each other and interacting with each other. So all of the time, most of the gaps and most of the vulnerabilities and the exposures are coming from the decoupling between some of these technology stacks and lack of having the needed talents that would be able to manage them and they can maintain them in a proper way. So this is the key factor. If you are running any type of technology as a backend to your organization, which is pretty much everyone in this world now is relying on technology, one way or another, we do need to have that diverse type of again mentality or talent in the domain to be able to manage them and be able to work with them and come up with the needed security controls for each one of them, because each one is different than other technology. So absolutely.
Absolutely. I really like how you mentioned like a diverse technology background is necessary, especially the emergence of new technologies coming up, on top of like the emerging and complexities of the threats that we see here. But did you have any advice in terms of the technology and making sure that we kind of keep pace with our technologies for organizations out there, or some kind of key ways that maybe Ontario Health is working towards?
Well, we need to, it's very hard to maintain the tech currency is always a challenge for any type of organization. And the reality is that no matter how much funding we have or money we have at the same time, there are dependencies. There are dependencies on many IoTs, OTs, or IT perspectives. And even if we have to, we need to upgrade or whatever, we might have some challenge in that area. So we need to come up to be forward thinker. That's all I can say. That in order to achieve this, you need to be a forward thinker. And what I mean by that is that let's remove the traditional and the classical type of hats that we had in technology mindsets. That you know what, I'm going to have a data center, for example. I'm going to renew my technology stacks every 2 3 years. The reality is that we are falling behind even with that. Everyone is falling, and no wonder what we are going to have vulnerabilities when we are going. So there are many different ways. One of them is cloud is actually is a concept that is can be leveraged right now. And from the healthcare perspective, we are focused on that side. That we are moving toward more on the cloud side rather than legacy again or traditional type of backends, which was the data centers. But uh, regardless of that, we need to make sure, as I mentioned again, we need to think in advance. So you need to plan ahead of the time. And rather than let's get to the point and we are going to think about it, that's not going to help because the world is evolving so fast, especially in the world of ever changing of cyber and the technology side, that the day after today is going to be whatever we have is obsolete pretty much, and we need to make sure that we maintain and bring it up to date. So those are the factors that we need to consider when we are talking about the technology stack and how we are going to bring them to the current or the tech currency concept that we are talking about, and how to maintain them. And yes, think about the solutions out there that might be giving you the opportunity rather than you be the sole responsible for maintaining those technologies. You leverage them like SaaS model or PaaS model, whatever that is from the cloud service providers they can provide you, or any other ways.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, yeah. diversity really kicks in when, especially when technology has your own security factors. And I really like the point of, just making sure that you need to be forward thinking. You need to be forward thinking to really identify the diverse type of talents within your organization or company to manage and work the best within what you have available, and beyond that, of course. But now that we've uncovered why diversity, of course, is important, we're going to switch gears here a bit, Ali, and talk a little bit more about the challenges. Although there's a need for diversity in cyber, there does seem to be a bit of a barrier as people of diverse backgrounds. They may not lean towards creating a career for themselves in cyber. So, my question for you is, what are the challenges really in recruiting and retaining underrepresented groups, especially women in cybersecurity careers? And what are the challenges with valuing other skills alongside really strict technical cybersecurity knowledge out there?
Sure. In addition to what I mentioned earlier about the stereotypes and the challenges related to the perception of the domain, that this is mainly male-driven type of domain, there are additional you see, everyone thinks differently and has a different type of interest in the careers. And as long as we pass the message that this is a very tech driven, and you have to be a very tech specialist in domain. That's all you can do. Those are the challenges. The other part of it is basically from the if we talk about women's side, of course they do have other duties related to the family and other type of things that is by nature we all go through them, and that's a work-life balance type of issue. Because usually when we are talking about the cybersecurity, they might think that this is going to be a 24/7 operation. I need to be on call. I need to work extended hours, all of those type of things. So there are two ways to that. One is that the organizations need to consider the factor that the work-life balance is important and provide such a flexibility to the both genders, either way, but especially for women that they might have children or those type of factors. At the same time, they also consider the fact that they can deliver. It's not anymore like it's not a type of manufacturing type of field that you have to start at a certain point, you have to finish at a certain point. As long as there is a flexibility and they can deliver, and it's not always the operation side. They can contribute to many aspects of cybersecurity, because cyber is not just about operation firewall. It's not about the instant response. It's not about all of those factors, all of those operation type of works. It can be security assessment, it can be policy writing, it can be many different ways or security architecture that they don't need you to be per 24/7, for instance, or work that way. So again, goes back to what I mentioned, that bringing the awareness to to those groups that uh, it's not what you think, and there are opportunities all the way through this field that you can step in and you can really take advantage and lead in many different ways. In my own team, I have few female and women that they are working, and they are extremely successful. To be honest, they are my key team members in some ways. I hope my
Wonderful.
other team members they don't get offended by what I said, but they do. They because they bring a different perspective and they have a different ways of working. Some, and again they have kids, they have again life responsibilities, but we are managing it. It's not about again a specific type of tech work that they think might be needed 24/7.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think it's really important, especially working within cybersecurity. Talking about 24/7 ops, there's always so much to do within the sector. There's always a lot of work to do and really meaningful and impactful work. But it's also important to bring it back to promote work-life balance, right? In cybersecurity, especially after the height of the pandemic as well has put on a lot of strain on folks on getting things done, and really navigating towards the ways that we can complete tasks in an efficient manner, especially in a hybrid environment that we're in today. But there's a lot of opportunities, like you mentioned, right? And I just want to echo that again, that you don't have to be technical technical focus, that you're bringing awareness, you're bringing out some of the skill sets from underrepresented groups. And that is the key to kind of diversifying on that side, and really making sure that it's not all about the technical cybersecurity knowledge that brings out the best of us, right? So
Sure.
in cybersecurity, I think where success often relies on doing the unexpected, right? We do that a lot here at the Center of Excellence, a lot of trial and error, diversity of thought. It's a valuable weapon. But if the defensive team is standardized, but the attack group is diverse, it really has a larger pool of perspectives from which we could draw. And for this reason, I think the need to attract new and different types of talent in cybersecurity, it's really crucial. It really surfaces new types of thinking, which in turn provides problem solving skills that could help regain the competitive advantage. But diversity in defense means, I think, bringing people together with a wealth of different perspectives, if you agree here, Ali, solutions, bringing experiences and ideas, which are absolutely vital to keeping ahead of the cyber threats that we see today. But ultimately, cybersecurity needs an approach to diversify that's as pragmatic as as the attackers out there, and one that focuses on the breadth of the skills first, and it does away with the long list of the pricier certifications and qualifications that you need, that technical knowledge that is often, kind of misconstrued to get a career into cybersecurity. But I'll take a minute just to share a little bit about one of the ways here that the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence is leveraging to recruit people is through opening up those opportunities for students or new grads to really enter into cyber through co-op positions or internships. This allows them with people with little to no experience in cybersecurity to have the chance to work in this field, get your hands and dip your toes into those cyber waters, if you will. But many of our students came into the cybersecurity team with no clue of what's a cybersecurity could be a career path for them, just like I did about 6 years ago. And we have had many of them come back telling us how much they valued this experience and have joined cyber full time. So these are some of the ways that I believe we can continue to attract and retain underrepresented groups, and many other organizations are able to do this as well. But knowing the challenges that are faced, we can now look towards the training and understanding of how to create a diverse team. But how do you train your teams on taking multiple diverse approaches to getting better at what they do?
That's actually a very good point, and the training is the key factor. You are absolutely right. There are misperceptions again related to oh, I need to have this type of certificate or that type of certificate. To be honest, certification is important, but at the end of the day, is not the key of knowledge. And I have had situations that I have had someone with multiple certifications, and they came in and were not successful in the domain because they could not think in the right way, or they weren't passionate enough in the domain. At the same time, I've had that we as an internship and mentorship, we have brought in the actually junior type of resources into the domain and pairing them up with different experts or leads in the domain. And as soon as they in within the next 2 3 months they started shining, and they showed that because they were passionate about it and what they want to do.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
uh, so number one is the style. From my point of view, regardless of the technical knowledge of someone, the reality is that the style is the key factor and the passion in the domain. When I used to teach, and when I was teaching at the college, the first actually information security program within the province many years ago, I would get questions from some of the younger generation. Oh, what is the best way, or what is the best domain or career that I can step in that brings more money and all of that? I was always, my response was one thing. That's a wrong question. You need to see what your passion, your heart takes you. Then you become the best in the domain, and the market, no matter how bad it is, comes after you. So in order to achieve that, again, we provide different type for me, especially professional development is the key for my team members, and I get any type of opportunities to do that. But again, goes back to what you mentioned, because not everyone is passionate about technology side. So I pick the ones who are really good at technology and they want to go that, pursue that, put them through that. Even the ones that might not be, they might get exposed to that. They need to have the exposure to that technology, because it might at one point they never had that experience, and now they want to be more hands-on and learn about this. So leave it up to them. But depending on the which domain of the activity or the field that they are active and they are working on, Usually, for instance, we put through my team 3 months ago. All of the team went for professional development and specialized trainings. That they some were coming with some certifications and some were just as a gaining knowledge based on their interest. I give an example for one of the female team members that we have. She's more on the expert on the policy making and the compliance side and the risk management. And we put her through especially without mentioning the name of the training for that area, that she become more exposed to that and gain more knowledge and how she can become better in that domain. So depending on again the interest, I think that regardless of the gender, we need to see number one, what's the passion and what they want to do and where they want to go. And we provide the same type of trainings that they are interested in. The other type of training that I usually I'm a big fan of them is the self basically recognition of who we are and what we do and what we are the best at. For instance, insight training we did a while ago for my team, that we went through that and see the colors, defining the colors, who's blue, who's red, who's the green one. And each one of these colors are representing a different type of mindset and what their interests are really. So I take that knowledge and from them and the results. And based on that, we come up with the needed type of trainings that will advance them in their career path. For instance, if someone is really analytical and wants to be involved in the more of the analysis and those aspects of the work, which is colored blue that I'm mentioning, then those are excellent for, let's say, assessments and going deep down into the different type of deep thinkers that they can, more analytical skill sets they can bring into the different views. The ones that are really in rush, always to get things done, they need different type of training. So that's how we come up with the trainings for different team members as much as we can. Again, because the reality is that we cannot provide all of those trainings. Having said that, there are so many resources right now online free that many universities even are providing. And in order for me to enable them, I give them and ask them to take them during their work time. So I give them the ability to take it, not after the hours, but also during their work hours, so as a part of their job to make them better.
That's so important. And a question that I get on a daily basis is, what certifications would help me in my role, would help me advance to kind of the next level of my career? Although we talked about, certifications, they're not the most important factor in terms of getting into to this career or kind of advancement necessarily. But the question that I usually pose back to them is, what are the areas that you're passionate about? Let's talk about your skill sets. Let's talk about some of the challenges or the gaps that might need some improvement. And let's talk about the certifications to help you get to the next level, to kind of really hone in on that knowledge and skill sets. But not only providing that advice in terms of what certifications or programs to take, but really being aware of, for staff, for your colleagues, to allow them to have the time for that training and that knowledge transfer, right? I think that is key. But what you talked about is, I think, passion. It's what brings success. It definitely has proven here and what brings success and serves excellence to the work that we do, both from Ontario Health and Center of Excellence. But it really brings back to the saying of, as you're saying there, Ali, love what you do, or you'll never work a day in your life. And that is so true. More and more so that I find, especially with the kind of the complexities that we're seeing just a kind of across the cybersecurity landscape these days. But understanding this perspective of an individual and what we can do to ourselves to make a change, I wanted to bring it to a larger scale and really get your perspective on it. How do you see government, academia, or just others in this industry really helping to advance the underrepresented groups in this field?
Sure. It goes back to what I mentioned, and academia plays a major role in this, and government too. Having said that, the government is more on the, again, maybe public knowledge and public training and awareness type of discussions that they can bring in more to the media, more to the social media and all of those, and career fairs and job fairs and those type of things that they can stand up more often for all the type of basically interested talents. I give an example of that. Many years ago, we had we teamed up as a part of a community activity that we had as a not-for-profit charity organization that we were training youth in the domain, in different domains. And one area was that we were bringing them into provide them hands-on training because the challenge is that usually at the early age or younger age, they don't know what exactly they want to do. They might read something because again, from my education background, higher education, one challenge we had the retention of students during when they after they were registering for a program. They had a completely different perspective and idea about the program. They would come in, and after 6 months, they would drop out. They get discouraged. They would go back. After 5 years, they come back and say, "Okay, now I know what I want to do." So the idea was that why don't we provide such hands-on experiences to them at early age, and they develop what they want, really that passion toward what they want to become in their future. So we were bringing, and we had such a partnership with. I remember at the time that we partnered once with the police board in Hamilton area that we were bringing kids actually to show them forensic investigation and how they but we were showing them cool stuff. Let's say you can inject, for instance, a code into an image, and you as a gathering information, how you can read the different type of headers, those type of things. And because we had that, that came from the government side, that they were participating and partnering with us in this. And believe it or not, the kids were loved it. They wanted many of them. It doesn't matter either girl or boy. They were say, "Wow, that's cool. I want to be like that." From academia side, we play the same role again because, as I mentioned, we need to first, I believe, educate the educators. That's the key. I'm saying that because as long as we don't provide such education to our teachers at the again elementary or middle school or higher school stage, they are unable to talk about these to the kids and provide such workshops or whatever to them. Once we have that and we develop those passions at the early age and stage, and again, not just technical side of it, there are so many aspects to this. When we talk about cyber, and we show them how they can be a part of a greater domain, even from the law enforcement or law perspective. If we look at the lawyers that are specialized in the cyber and privacy, their field is law, but at the end of the day, they have become some kind of a specialized, which is a very much needed domain again. And this is a very both female and male-driven domain. So academia is the key, and then all the way going to up to the universities, they play a major role in that. And I one area that probably we would be able to not enforcing, maybe that's the wrong word, but encouraging the corporations is by asking them to diversify more their intake what's the interns and the ones that the students that would like to join. They don't look at it, so that comes from that purpose is by providing some incentives, maybe even more to the organization to hire more girls into the career for co-op program and boys at the same time equally. That way, probably that's going to help them to also at the same time to the individuals who are interested to join the cyber field, they get exposed to that and they have a better understanding of what they can do and what they like to do and what they don't like to do. And that's going to become their path for future. As we speak, I have said this in my previous talks too, we are short 2.5 million talent across the board for cybersecurity. And this is going to stay the same for the next at least 3, 4 years from now, unless we think about something. So that's a mix of both boys and girls and women and male that and men that they can play major role in this domain.
Absolutely. I think, partnerships and collaboration between academia side, educate the educators, right? At colleges and universities. They have a major role to play. Um, and I'll give one example, just bringing us back to last week at the Canadian Women in Cyber Conference, the sheer amount of students that attended this conference and asked those questions where they might not have those kind of opportunities via email or LinkedIn or so forth. It was like, how did you start in cybersecurity, right? So I had a ton of those questions. What made you interested to work in a career in cybersecurity, and how do I get? What kind of certifications should I be taking? And I'm sure that you've probably had a handful of those very common questions as well, with especially with the great background and the diversified work that you do at Ontario Health there, Ali. But organizations, absolutely. They need to diversify in hiring the different, interns and co-ops. And that's one of the goals that, we play a pivotal role here at the Center of Excellence as well. But it really is building that community or fostering that kind of ecosystem where it's kind of across the board, starting from the educators to build that awareness, to getting the students on board, having that cybersecurity mindset, to making sure that organizations and government are providing those opportunities and those kind of gateways to allow for that talent to contribute to cybersecurity. So all excellent and amazing points, but as we start to wrap things up here, our last question is a question I ask to all my guests. What is the best cybersecurity advice you can give or have ever received?
Well, uh, if you want to stay safe, turn off the computer. No, I'm kidding. The reality is that the cybersecurity starts by each individual. So we should not expect that others to protect us, and it starts by self. So we need to build a culture that we understand that cybersecurity, if we want to be secure, we need to be vigilant all the time on our own and pay attention to the details and do the best, go through the best practices. And we don't expect that it's going to be the organization or my service provider is going to protect me, and that's going to be my I'm safe. So uh, if you want to stay safe, build a culture that you're always at the front line of the defense and be a part of that defense. Because no matter what type of mechanisms and controls we might have, either at home or at work and or across the board within the nation, at the end of the day, our human is of course, they have said all the time, is the weakest link, and we need to strengthen this link and make sure that each individual is cyber aware and is vigilant, good enough to practice in a cyber hygiene manner that won't put that individual or the organization or enterprise or nation in danger because of the mistakes that we make as a human being.
Wonderful, wonderful advice there that I'm personally going to probably take and relay that when people do ask me. Thanks very much, Ali. At this time here, I know that there are already some questions in the comment section, so we're going to pivot things over to my favorite part of the show as well, is the Q&A session. So, guys, if you have any questions for Ali or I, please put in your questions now. But we'll start off with our first question here. Um, Ali, what do you think of bug bounty programs? Should they be part of our defensive strategy?
Of course, the background is we need to. You see, now we are in the era of the AI, and basically no matter. Uh, we had this discussion this morning actually with some of my peers that we see that more and more the AI it was about ChatGPT actually. I'm going to say that it is able to now to come up with a malware that can basically defeat EDRs that we have in place. And in general, all I'm trying to say is that it's not about one control in place. You need to have all aspects of or all controls in place in a holistic way in order to make sure that you're protected. One of them is bug bounty, that you need to do the threat hunting and understand the environment and have at the local level, because that's how we can how you can again come up with the needed controls in a comprehensive model rather than just one way to achieve that. And this is exactly one of them. So it's bringing the awareness to the you need to know what you are dealing with, and in order to do that, you need that in place.
Yeah, identify what you're dealing with and a little bit of predictions of what's to come, right? To,
Exactly.
to make sure that you've got your preventative measures. And our next question, Ali, is did you have any recommendations for organizations actively looking for vulnerabilities in their architecture?
Well, vulnerabilities is the reality of this world. No matter what we do, the challenge is that we are always behind, and that's the fact. No matter where you work and what you do and how much money, how many resources you have, it's going to be there because on daily basis we have so many vulnerabilities that are coming to the surface, and we need to deal with them. I think automation is the key here. As much as you can automate, that's going to be the help. Because having said that, because you need to be careful also about the automation, they're providing having a proper vulnerability management program that is going to have all needed components in place, including, as I mentioned, the automation part at the end, while it's done in a careful and cautious manner, is the key. Because you don't want to bring down your operation at the same time because you automated something to just patch, and then that patch brought down the overall operation or the specific tool that you have, and it's not going to be compatible. So uh, automation and proper vulnerability management program or comprehensive is the key factor. While you need to accept, or all the organizations need to accept that what we have in place in order to deal with such vulnerabilities and reduce the impact, because even sometimes you need to accept the fact that you're going to live with a vulnerability, but the key factor is the impact of that vulnerability and whether that's going to be really a severe vulnerability or high or critical or not. Those are the things that you need to consider when you're doing the vulnerability assessment. Because in some cases you might accept those vulnerabilities and not even be able to patch them or fix them, but come up with the compensating controls that make sure that you have monitoring, you have log management, you have all other type of controls that are needed to prevent any lateral movements or any type of uh, again exposures to the or exfiltrations to your environment.
Fantastic. All right, our next question here. A lot of questions coming your way here, Ali. Is a
Okay.
vulnerability disclosure program an absolute must? Do you think it's more of a hope that people will abide by it?
Vulnerability. Sorry, what was the word was used?
Yeah,
Vulnerability.
is a vulnerability disclosure program, is it required? Is that a must? And do you think it's more of a hope that people will abide by it?
Uh, it should be a must. I'm going to say that by the ones that they own the products. That's the reality. But are they going to do that? Whether they're going to do that, you see, that's the challenge we are dealing with. And at the end of the day, most of these vulnerabilities come to surface again. We have 0 days that we have 0 day attacks that even the organization or the products and the providers might not be aware of. It's more of the hope. I'm going to say that it's not. It should be a must, but who is going to follow that? Because you need to look into the global type of operation we are talking about. We are none of these products are coming from a single point, a single source or single vendor that we say, okay, you are the only vendor, and you are under this law that you need to expose them and provide them the information. You are talking about the products that come from across the board anywhere, and they follow different type of rules and legislations that might not force them to introduce them or come clean and say that we have this problem, go and fix it.
Wonderful. This actually, I'm quite curious to know myself. From your perspective, Ali, how have you seen cybersecurity industry shift in terms of diversity over your past 23 years of working?
It is shifting, I can say that. We have seen some movements in the domain. And if you look at the data, even since 2019, we see about 25% in improvement in the field in general, based on the statistics that I have seen. And the more and more female or women are getting more interested in the domain, which goes back to what I mentioned. Again, the social media play major role, and they see that okay, it's not. If you look at well, let's say Google, for example, has the CISO is a female. That is, they call her queen of security or something like that, even that term. You see, these are the things that then encourages others that say that, you know, but it's not just male driven. We should be able to do to shine like that. So absolutely, it has been moving toward the right direction, but the speed is not in a pace is not good enough to fill the gap quickly. That's the challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And just take an example of our side, right? For the province, we've got the very first female CISO,
Correct.
Rhonda Bunn,
Yeah,
tackling on all of the cyber threats. And I always joke with her across the
absolutely.
province here, right? Which again breaks the stereotypical kind of view that, people in those positions are usually kind of male dominated, right? Which have been, we've seen in the past, been more and more so. Even our deputy minister is also a female
Exactly.
leader in
Yeah,
that space. So
absolutely.
definitely seeing that great movement of just diversity.
Yes.
Talking about diversity, what is the government doing to encourage diversity in the workplace? And I can take this one first, Ellie, just to give you a bit of a minute of a breather here. In terms of diversity in the workplace here, I think we touched on that a little bit during today's show, but also diversity, I think, requires the first level of the buy-in for executives, right? To make sure that they understand the importance of diversity, which we have established. And I think a great way to ensure that everyone in all roles are aligned with the importance of diversity, especially in cybersecurity, is making sure that we implement that in our cybersecurity strategy. That it's a top priority and it's a key pillar of our workplace of attracting, retaining talent in general, right? So that's also one of the key areas, but also identifying some of the gaps in talent when it comes to diversity. Like I mentioned, the skill sets, not just from race and gender, but what are these skill sets that we might be lacking in? How do we recruit kind of those talent? And here, at the Center of Excellence here, we're continuously engaging with colleges and universities on new master cybersecurity programs, new advancements within kind of this area here that's been blowing up quite a bit that we've seen just sheer volume in just the past year. So, how do we tap into those opportunities when there's such an eagerness from government and institutions to kind of really move the needle? But Ali, I don't know if you would like to add anything in maybe your perspective.
Absolutely. You know what? I have seen it in the past few years, especially that we are more and more and more. We are talking about the diversity within the government. We are more encouraging this factor because the reality is that it's a top-down approach, and we see that when it starts from the government, and we are encouraging within the government, basic agencies and ministries and all of that. Then the other players also look at it and say, okay, then that's the right way and path to do. And I have noticed this again and been going on for a while that we are encouraging, and that's why we are here actually. That this is one of those considerations and concepts that we are trying to encourage, saying that from the government point of view, that we are working for the government. We need more female and doesn't matter diverse type of either gender or religion or but race, whatever it is, doesn't matter. We need everyone into the game and come and be a part of the team.
Absolutely. Here's a question a little targeted more around cybersecurity experience. We often hear this a lot in terms of someone who is looking towards a career in cybersecurity without any experience. What are some of the must-have certifications that would help me land my first role? I know that's a very general question, depending, I think, really, if you want to go on more of the technical side there on threat intelligence, or do you want to go on more of the softer skill side of, really working towards program advancements, strategy, communications, right? There's even HR function within cybersecurity. So it definitely varies. But I'm not too sure, Ali, in terms of the advice that you would give this individual in terms of getting their feet wet into cybersecurity.
You see, you cannot get, let's say, the known type of certifications like CISSP or CCSP or those type because they need require some experience in the domain. But that doesn't mean that you cannot get other type of certifications all the way from the even continuing education at the college level they are providing. I know I had a similar discussion with another individual who wanted who I'm her mentor actually, and she's taking now a 3 months program with York University that is a certification and giving her the ability to proceed with the known certification like CISSP. Uh, that's a very basic type of thing that you need to have. And if someone has that technical background also in the field, somehow that's an asset. If not, there are so many other ways that it can be all the way, as you mentioned. If you become part of the even from the business analyst point of view or project manager, there are so many things that can include cybersecurity, basically skills that require them, and you look at that from that perspective. And I was looking to hire a program manager, for example, that is more on the project and program management. But guess what? We were looking for someone who has been exposed to kind of security perspectives and security skill sets, and we found someone like that. So there are many different domains and different fields that you can step in, not necessarily as a cyber security expert, subject matter expert in a specific area. So starting from the, always I say, stepping stones, and going one level at a time, then you can get to wherever you want to go.
Lily, I've got another um, question here that's similar, just around, any suggestions, and are there any organizations that funds that could help people get paid certifications? One thing I would note that is free is cybersecurity.ontario.ca. So visit our site. We've got 14 e-modules as of today. Once you sign up, all those free resources are available to you. All of our modules and our cybersecurity program on this platform ranges for people who have no cybersecurity background to IT leaders within their organization. So I highly encourage you to tap into one of those areas that the government is providing. And just to add, from Ontario Cybersecurity team here, we understand the importance of education and training within the cybersecurity space, keeping up with trends and emerging trends that's coming up on a daily, and hence why we do provide funds for staff to ensure that they get the certifications and some of the programs to help advance some of their skill sets on that side there. But Ali, sorry, is there anything you'd like to add, and maybe from OH's side?
Not from OHS, but I know other programs even that they like YES, young entrepreneurs, something like that, that they provide such services. And it's not always about the, again, university or college certifications. Then right now, many of the even private sector, they have a step in because they see the gap and they are trying to, like IBM, like I know that Ryerson is providing such programs that are it can be supported, and some of them are free and they are not that lengthy programs. So that's those are other avenues that they can step in and leverage.
Wonderful. That's great that you noted that. The next, and I think the last question that we can squeeze in for today, and the time that we have, I think this viewer here is interested in OH. Can you share some insights on Ontario Health strategy and skill sets your organization is looking for? Really, Ali.
That's a very very and broad question. Uh, well, at OH, of course, we have our depend on if you are referring to the skill set for the cyber or any other, because OH is in general the super agency for the provincial for healthcare sector, that we are supporting hospitals and healthcare sector in general. And we have so many divisions and so many portfolios that digital excellence in health is one of them that we operate under and look after the digital assets of the province. Of course, depending again your domain, and I'm assuming it's going to be cyber domain that this question is coming from. We look for different, all the way from compliance side, as I mentioned, it can be from SOC operations, security analyst positions, or as I mentioned, even the project management positions that we have, especially as in cybersecurity. So it depends. And even going all the way to the pen testers or the security architecture, the depends on which area of your interests are. Then you can see the different skills. I believe under my team right now we have two positions open. If you check out those two positions, they are senior security specialists, and that probably gives you a better idea of what type of skills we need for them.
Thanks very much, Ellie. I'm sure that people are now going in and checking that out. If you do want to find more information here, Ali and I we're both on LinkedIn, and we always encourage people who are thinking about a career in cyber, or if you're a student, especially, to connect in directly with us for your questions
Absolutely.
there. There are more questions, and sorry guys, we didn't have the time to answer all of them. But again, please feel free to connect directly with us. But this does conclude our Cyber Talk session. A special thank you to our guest today, Ali,
Thank
for giving his time and advice. And to those of you who have watched and participated, I hope you're all able to take something away from this session on creating a more diverse cybersecurity industry. Feel free to continue to share your thoughts in the comment section as we're very on top of all the comments that you share and the questions that you send our way. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that June is Pride Month. The cybersecurity team here joins the Ontario Public Service really in honoring and recognizing and supporting the 2SLGBTQIA plus community. And as always, it's important to stay on top of cybersecurity best practices to keep yourself and those around cyber safe. So I do encourage everyone to keep coming back and learning about cybersecurity with us on the Cyber Talk Show with me, Julia Lee. And stay cyber safe and see you soon, guys.
Thanks, Julie.